I'm here with Liz Rose. If you haven't heard of Liz, you've been living under a rock. Liz is, of course, a songwriter based out of Nashville, but you can hear her music. She's been recorded by so many artists: Nelly Furtado, Colbie Callait, Gary Allan, Tim McGraw, Blake Shelton, Taylor Swift. The list goes on and on and on. I kind of want this to be a little bit different interview. I know that in many interviews, we all can hear about your experiences and what you've done, and all that is awesome. And in this difficult time, I wanted to come to songwriters such as yourself for guidance as things like, how do we be creative? There is a dog that is not Liz's stomach or mine.
That was my dog. Here.
I just want to point that out.
That, okay.
Oh, it's frozen. There we go.
Is that it?
There.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay.
It freezes up on us a little bit. So I've come to Liz to share with us some thoughts around creativity, and I've brought specific questions that hopefully are going to lead to songwriting craft and tools and things that we can do on a daily basis to write and use our time. So Liz, not to put you on the spot, but I want to give you the opportunity to say what you might like to say here to begin with regard to the space we're in creatively.
Well, I mean, I know we're seeing so much on the news, and so many people are, waiters, and I mean, they depend on their tips and their hourly wage, and then there's a lot of musicians and songwriters out there that don't have publishing deals, don't have cuts in the pipeline, don't have so it's got to be really scary. I do, maybe I'm naive, but I feel really fortunate that we're in a business that, we're always the ones whining and crying. But when you think about it, we're in a business where we're still getting paid for the music. People are listening to music right now more than ever. Yeah. All the more reason why the streaming companies should be paying us, because we're about all that's out there right now. As far as entertainment, it's TV and music. So I want to say that, but I also want to say that I'm so grateful that I don't have to, that I can shut my doors and maintain the company and pay my writers and make sure that they have what they need, and it's been amazing to watch our little family come together and, in daily text and just kind of, it's just kind of put our arms around each other and all the virtual, the streaming shows that are going on out there. I mean, the power of music, if we didn't appreciate it before, man, we really, really got to realize how powerful it is that what we do and what, and how lucky we are. This is really, it's really scary. And we're not sitting around writing sad songs. I usually, anyway, I don't know. I just keep thinking that every day, is that, should I be freaking out? No, the songs are being played. Songs are being hopefully downloaded. And music is getting us through it, so I think that's pretty amazing. And we should all stand up and celebrate ourselves.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we all, as songwriters, want to write music that helps people get through it, and writing helps us get through it. So some of the things that I kind of want to talk about are some of the things that I find happening in your music. So would it be all right if I dig into a couple of your songs and we talk about some craft ideas that people can use?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And can I shut this door, because my
you can do
real
whatever
quick.
you want.
Okay. He just turned up the TV really loud. Okay. Okay.
So, so I grabbed a couple of lyrics. One of them is "Swimming Alone" off your record, and there are several tools that I see going on, but I'd love to hear what you think. I'm going to start for the listener just by reading the lyric here up to a certain point, and then maybe we can have a conversation. So it starts like this. It was a crawdad spring in a grasshopper summer. I had a dime store daddy and a paperback mother. Sister had a boyfriend, brother was playing ball, and I was raising myself, the last of them all. So I jumped in, closed my eyes. There was a party going on with nobody home. Nowhere to mind me or looking to find me. I think it's no one to mind me. Right?
It's no one, yeah.
I was outside in the backyard swimming alone. And then verse 2, I was a California dreamer in a hot Texas town, and I was too young to drive, but I still got around. Climbing out of windows just to get stoned, out there on the edge, swimming alone. Well, I jumped in, closed my eyes. I was always running away from home. But on my side was my heart open wide. I learned how to survive, swimming alone. So before we go into the bridge, there's a couple of awesome tools happening here. The first one, I think, that's so clear in your writing, and much of the writing that would come out of Nashville, is the ability to use this showing language, sensory language.
Right.
And it's certainly something that comes out super strong in all the music you do across different genres. Can you say anything about that that might be helpful to songwriters, and how to harness that tool better?
Well, I mean, with this song, it's just the truth. I just told a story. I mean, every word in that song is going back and thinking about growing up. I was the youngest of 6 kids. And those are all, you know, I remember crawdads growing up, and you know, my sister had a boyfriend that she had her whole life. It just crazy things that I just put them in a song. You know, I just made a list and you know, almost started writing a poem. I just started writing the story. And it was that was really easy to write because I knew what I was writing about, you know.
Writing what you know. The what you're doing is, you said make a list, which I think it's a simple, sounds simple, but what you've got there: crawdad spring, grasshopper summer, dime store daddy, paperback mother. Those are
My parents had a dime store, and my mother was always in a chair reading a paperback.
So cool. And so you kind of had, you have these metaphors. It's not my daddy was like a dime store. It was dime store daddy. My mom was reading paperback mother. So I think that's so cool in the sense of looking at how can I just collide those words and make a metaphor and just leave it.
Right.
That's very, very cool. One of the things that, you know, that I think I've read in interviews and you've said is that you come at this from not playing an instrument. Yeah.
Right.
However, even when we don't play an instrument, we are writing lyrics to a particular rhythm. Otherwise, the melody would be just random and it wouldn't have a theme.
Right. I mean, and I do write to a melody. I write to a cadence. Like, I usually don't hear words until I hear music. But the Swimming Alone record, I had to write the stories before I could write the music. So Swimming Alone, the lyric was written, and then it was given to Lori McKenna.
Okay.
And she put music to it. Most of those songs were written that way. Where they were, and I normally don't write like that, but I do write to a cadence, and I do have the same rhyme thing that I always do, and I constantly try and fight to get out of it, but then I have to go, wait a minute, that's what works for me. You know, I can write my way. I don't have to write everybody else's way. I just do what I do, and Sometimes it works.
That's awesome that I don't have to write everybody's way. It's so easy to sink into that. I'm always kind of comparing myself to the artist that I idolize, the writer I want to be like. Um, and it's never enough.
Yeah, no, you just got to do what you do. And, that's really, that's the only way it's ever going to sound right. Everybody has their little way of doing it. I heard a song today that just came out that I wrote with Hillary Lindsay and Corey Crowder.
Uh-huh.
And I have not probably heard the song since we wrote it 5 or 6 years ago. And it was so much fun to listen to that song and go, oh, this is so Hillary. There was so much Hillary in it. And I can pick out what she does. Yeah. And so, I know that when I have a song on a record, people will call me and say, I didn't even look at the liner notes. I knew which song you wrote.
And that is you as an artist. And every writer has this artistry where, we could
absolutely
identify. Yeah. This writing to a cadence, you change this cadence in the section that starts with, so I jumped in, right? I closed my eyes. So changed the length of the lines, got shorter, and the pitches went up, different intervals between the pitches. So the melody's different. And suddenly there's this rest space in a little short line with rest space after it. And now you got contrast.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from. It just, I think it just kind of fell out, and Lori probably jumped in there and kind of, helped me fix that. I don't really remember, but it seems like that's probably where she jumped in and put the Lori thing in there of that I jumped in.
Yeah, that's the beauty of collaboration. So then one thing that songwriters struggle with a lot, I know I'm very familiar with this challenge, is where the heck do you go for a second verse? How do you think about that?
Yeah, so many times the second verse to me ends up better than the first verse. I think that the second verse is how do you move this story along? How do you connect it to the hook that you just gave the listener, but you also continue the story from the first verse and give them something that wasn't in the first verse, how do you move it along? I mean, I think that's how I do it. I mean, a lot of times the second verse is half of what the first verse, and that's not out of laziness. It's out of, I've already told you the story and I've set up the chorus. So let's just get back to the chorus, because that's the best part of the song. And that's the song you want to sing along to. That's the part you want to sing along to.
Definitely. One thing that I think happens a lot, and it's such a great tool, in the first verse, you're a child. Sister had a boyfriend, brother was playing ball, I raised myself. And this idea of outside in the backyard swimming alone, it's almost like you were, the way that I interpret it is you were literally swimming in the pool all by yourself.
Well, the song came from a story that my mom told.
Okay.
Of when I was 2 years old, they couldn't find me, and they found me out in the backyard swimming alone.
Okay.
Who knows? I was out in the pool. I guess, I had an in or two, a little swimmy, but evidently I was in the pool by myself.
And you were very brave, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, that's just where it came from, is that there was a party going on and nobody home because nobody was watching me.
Wow. And then in the second part of the song, the California dreamer, too young to drive, climbing out windows, getting stoned, out there on the edge, swimming alone. Now the meaning is figurative. So don't a lot of songs do this, where you start with, here's the literal thing I'm talking about, And then in the second verse, if we call it, here is what it means if you think more figuratively about it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I just did a tour in Sweden, and I did this song every night. And every time I did it, it never got lost on me. I was like, God, how did we do that? How did that work out so beautifully? And I think I was telling the story and didn't even realize, how it worked out so well. You know, I just wrote it, but I just love the way it all turned into that big metaphor of I'm just out there swimming alone. And I don't plan things out. I don't think things through. Things just kind of fall out. And it was during this tour that I realized that I'm from a big family. I'm very close to my family. I'm very close, have lots of friends, grandkids, but I do feel like I'm always swimming alone. In a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's a brave way, because every business I've ever started, as far as starting publishing companies, songwriting, anything I've ever done, I've just done it and not waited for someone to say it's okay or this is how you do it. I just did it. So I think that's where the swimming alone came from.
That's awesome. And it's so much like what you said in the bridge, which I didn't read. I've had friends and lovers and so many others. I've had a lot of good deals and plans that I broke. Sometimes you
should be blown.
Oh, blown? Sorry.
Yeah. Is that on my liner notes? It probably is.
Sometimes you get burned, but that's how you learn when you're out there in the world swimming alone. It's such a cool thing to hear how the bridge in the song, it just sums it up, what it means to be human. It says here, title and what, and I think that's kind of makes bridges easier to write. I think if we look at it that way, how can I make the bigger philosophy?
Well, you have to tie it all up in some songs. Some songs you don't, but that song, it just that fell out because I wasn't finished telling the story.
Okay.
And I had to kind of wrap it up and say, okay, this is where I am now.
Yeah. So cool. There's another song that so many of yours I connect with and the folks you collaborate with. But I really loved Miranda Lambert's We'll Smoke Like a Couple in the 1960s.
Oh.
Remember that one?
Yeah, Fire Escape.
So one thing that's so cool to me is you got this title, Fire Escape. It's just an object. And I think as writers, we really overlook a lot of great ideas because we don't consider things as titles. How did this song come about? Title first, lyric first?
Title first. We were sitting on a fire escape and looking at, and Miranda said, God, I want to write a song called Fire Escape. And she had this book from the old days when Soho was an artist colony. It was so much of an artist colony. And on this book, there was all these people on fire escapes, and I wasn't real keen. I was kind of trying to figure out what this love story was about on a fire escape, and how are we going to write a song about a fire escape? And when those were Miranda's lines about smoke like a couple in the 1960s, and that's when she pulled me in. When she came up with those lines, I was like, okay. And it took a little, we were a little into the song to get there. And then all of a sudden she came up with those lines and I was like, okay, I'm in. Now you got me. Now I see the picture.
Yeah.
And that song had to have those lines. It would have just been a song about meet me on the fire escape.
Yeah.
But she made it human. She put the picture in there.
So we get a sense of who the characters are, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
super interesting, alluring, not rule following people
Right.
who I think part of me wants to be.
Yeah, we all do, don't we?
Yeah. So it's we'll smoke.
Especially the 60s in New York City, in Soho. Can you imagine?
It sounds so free and easy, and
Yeah.
and at the same time fraught with challenge.
Yeah.
Smoke like a couple in the 1960s, lit up like a pair of Woodstock hippies, looking down on a town where it don't seem wrong to be a bonfire blaze where it don't belong. So cool. And then right into the chorus, meet me on the fire escape. And
Yeah.
and meet me on the fire escape is just repeated right away. One
Yeah.
thing I hear songwriters talk a lot about is they're afraid of repeating, and I'll include myself. I, as a songwriter, I don't want to be a foregone conclusion. I don't want to repeat myself to the point where the listener's tired of hearing what I have to say. So many times we end up with lyrics that the listeners
Yeah. But you,
decode.
yeah. But they worked in this song. I mean, it was so romantic to keep saying that. And when you know where her head's, you know, so much of the song is Miranda, and you know, watching all of us, you know, kind of jump in and go, this would be cool, and this would be cool, and to be in the environment, to be sitting in that apartment with fire escape, and you know, Miranda was newly married and in love, and you know, you just kind of fall into the lyrics and kind of let her live it out. It was really fun, and we weren't trying to, you know, songwrite it to death. It was let's just write this emotion. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it's okay. No, it'll probably never be a single. That's not how we write. It's more like get the emotion out and let the song be what it is. And you know, I don't, you know, God, you would miss out on a lot of great songs if it was always about the craft and the singles and the, you know, the things that other people want you to write.
Absolutely. How did you develop that sense of it just felt right? It was romantic to repeat it. How do you, maybe a question is, how do you trust your own voice as a songwriter to know?
Well, it's easy when you're in a room with, if it sounds good and it feels good, it's right.
Okay.
And when you're in a room full of 3 of your closest friends and you're just having fun making music, that's, you know, that's when you get to do that. You know, that's when you do it. And that's usually how I write. I can't, I wish I was more calculating when I wrote, but I'm not, and I'm not more crafty. I just, if it feels right, you just go with it. You know, it's why Girl Crush worked. It's why Taylor Swift worked. Yeah. Everything, Taylor writes from instinct. This is how it should go, and this, and not fight it, and not try and overthink it. I don't overthink. I mean, I'm sure that there are some songs that I've written that wish that I had overthinked, but I just can't do it.
I hear you. And that I think we do grow to trust that inspiration over time as we write more and more songs.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I was talking to Travis Meadows yesterday, and he was talking about when he finally got so frustrated, basically with not being able to kind of deliver on point what the industry wanted. He just threw his hands up in the air and started writing for himself. And that's really when it all turned around. Suddenly people...
Well, that's what people want to hear. They want to hear Travis's heart. Anybody can write radio singles, but not very many people can write like Travis Meadows. Yeah. And not very many people have been through what he is and has, and put that heart and soul into it. I mean, everybody puts their heart and soul into it. So I'm just saying that if you hadn't lived it, you can't, it's hard to write it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know,
You haven't.
so we need unique.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need all the same.
So you're talking about the believability again, finding that artist voice as a
Yeah.
writer. Yeah, yeah. Do you know of any resources, things that you would recommend to songwriters to practice that, to encourage them to find that, to work with other people who are better than them? Because as a writer in Wisconsin, it's hard to find people who know who who can, you know, encourage you to be better.
I think it's writing with a listener.
Okay.
I think it's finding somebody that wants to listen to you and
Mm,
listen to what you have to say. That's how I learned. It's you know it's not being afraid to walk in a room and tell your story and tell how you feel about something, and then it's writing with someone that is listening. Listener,
It
but
I'm gonna it actually clipped out for a moment there. Can you repeat that? The last thing you said.
I'm a terrible listener, except when I'm writing songs.
Interesting.
And there are a lot of times I'll write with an artist and I won't have anything, and they'll come in and say they don't have anything, and we'll just start talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, I've got a page of notes written, and we're writing a song. And then at the end of it, they realize that almost every word in the song was something they said.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that is, you know, so I would think, I don't journal, but I would think journaling would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've never taken the time to do it, or the nerve. To me, that takes a lot of nerve, but I think that would be incredible.
Okay. So again, it's instead of filtering your ideas through the sense of, is this going to be something I think people are going to want to hear? It's tossing that to the wind.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's a good way to write if you can do that. And there are some great writers that know how to do that. That's not how I write. I have to write the emotion, the feeling that's in the room at the moment.
Wow.
It's really hard to, yeah.
That's such a great point. So journaling would be an excellent way to kind of disrobe and
Yeah.
just let it come out as it is. It is amazing how many times if we might ask a songwriter, well, what were you really trying to say here? And what comes out is very different than what the actual lyric said.
Huh.
And often it's much more interesting.
Yeah.
Than
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for
Thank you.
your time. Is there anything else you could share with us about maybe some of your writers who have releases coming out, or anywhere we can look to find great up and coming music?
Alyssa Michaela.
Okay.
Alyssa Michaela just released a new song called Mad Love. It's incredible.
Okay, great.
Cassidy Daniels, check her out on Spotify. She's a new artist at our place.
Great.
Trace Adkins just released a song called Better Off that I wrote with Hillary Lindsay and Corey Crowder.
Okay.
So, and then, you know, there's just a lot of great music out there. Margo Price just releasing new music, and Brandy Clark, and Caitlyn Smith, and, you know, so, gosh, what a great time to catch up on new and old music.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Liz. I will make sure that people can get to those artists easily through some links and things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Take care out there.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.